What is going down, everybody? It is your boy Zary, and before we get into the video, I just want to remind everybody, if you are under level 15 and you want $10 worth of free stuff, go to your settings, go to use promo code, and type in XMGGift. You do that, you'll get $10 worth of free stuff. It helps support the channel. So if you're under level 15, make sure you're using that promo code XMGGift. Enjoy the video. What is going down, my YouTube family? It is your boy Zary, and we are here for the first of what happens at Gear 12. Now you're going to see my total powers dropping crazy, because on the test server we can take characters Gear 11 and then push a button and take them all to Gear 12. So right now I brought her back down to Gear 11. And my whole purpose and point of these videos is to show you what the character plays like, the stat increases they receive, just so it helps you make that decision on who you really want to take. And Thalanne is a damage dealer, so we're going to focus primarily on her damage, but I'm going to talk about the other areas as we go through the stats. Now when we get to damage, you're going to see different pieces. I tested this out quite a bit and found like range and averages for each ability. Now she doesn't have any tier 7s. Now when a character has tier 7s, I'll test them at Gear 12 with tier 7s. And without, and etc. But for her, it's pretty easy. Now, when I made this, Gear 11, I used 3 and 2 dot runes, because that is an endgame character now is moving more towards Gear 12, so mid-game I consider you get a character Gear 11. You don't really have the best runes available, so I tried to keep it consistent. I wanted to, the only variable in this, because all the footage you're going to see, everything I tested it on was the same opponents, Gear 12 and the runes, because when you get to Gear 12, you're going to have those 4, 5 dot runes, and you're going to start putting it on somebody who's Gear 12, so it makes sense to test them with that. And when we go over all the stats, we'll jump back into Thalanne. We will rune her the way I had her during the thing, and we'll talk about her stats there. Then what we are going to do is we are going to Gear 12 her, put on the runes I used, go over the stats, and then I'll kind of talk about it as some of the damage footage kind of shows, and we'll go from there. So I hope this helps people. This was a viewer choice. Now when this launches, a little bit afterwards, I will have the next group for you all to decide who you'd like to see. And as this series progresses, if there's something you'd like to see put into this Gear 12, what happens at Gear 12 series, you need to let me know so I can put them in there. Much like my noob series, this is going to evolve and change once I find what people like and what benefits everybody. So let's jump over to the stats and take a look at her stats and how they change taking her from Gear 11 to Gear 12. Alright, so the first thing we're going to take a look at here is her health. Now at Gear 11 she has 23,251. All the numbers you see are obviously without any sort of rune on there. At Gear 12, she takes a 10,250 health jump up to 33,501. So survivability for Thalanne really isn't a major issue for her, but making her more survivable, because depending on the team comp you put her with, people are going to try to get her out first, right? Potentially. Especially if you're running a tankless team. So what you need to understand here is that 10,000 jump, pretty massive, and then obviously you're going to get more from runes, so it really increases her survivability here from Gear 11 to Gear 12. Her shield, at Gear 11 her shield is 30,328. At Gear 12 she takes a 5,988 jump to 36,316. So with that being said, you're not seeing as much shield as compared to health, but I think that kind of benefits her as a whole in her move kit. You know, a lot of the heals are not restoring shield or based off maximum shield or things like that. So just a little bit more aggravating. I did notice a huge difference in the health portion of things versus the shield portion of things, and obviously because it's almost double. So, but we are seeing a jump here, and It is a minimal 1 compared to some other ones, but still nice, and we will take it. Physical armor. Physical armor at gear 11, she is 33.78%. She takes a 1.69% jump on her physical armor to 35.47. Now, to be completely honest, I don't really notice a humongous difference when you're playing her with the hits she is receiving. A 1.69%, while it's nice because it is more, you really do not see a difference. You know, when I go over damage and we start talking about that more, I went up against like Rival and Boris, and I didn't really notice a huge reduction in numbers, so don't look for a big change if you're looking for more like physical armor from this jump. Her magic armor. Magic armor at gear 11 is 35.34. Gear 12, she takes a 2.35% jump to 37.69. Now, this isn't a monster jump, but I did notice a little bit of a difference. Now, when I'm saying a little bit of a difference, Kagi was going and he'd hit twice, and he was hitting, let's just say 11k, 11.6k. I'd kind of notice a reduction to like 10.9. You know, it's not going to push her over the edge, but compared to the physical armor side of things, you do see just the slightest help here, especially on the AoEs. When I was playtesting her, I did notice I was able to survive a little bit more of the AoEs at gear 12 compared to gear 11. It's not going to make this character the reason why you're bringing her up, but it's just something that's nice that you should take into account. Her damage goes at gear 11 is 3,458. At gear 12, you take a 446 jump to 3,904. This was kind of disappointing to me because I see Thalanne, the two areas I really wanted to see was damage and potency. And we'll get to potency. And we're going to talk more about damage as I kind of explain things, and you'll see some more of the videos, and some of them are probably popping up now. But the thing is, maybe crit chance in there too as my third choice of what I really wanted to see improved. This 446 makes a difference, but it really doesn't, if that makes sense. It's a consistency based item here, and I'm going to come back to damage, so we're going to move on to the next one. Crit chance. Crit chance at gear 11 is 41.26%. At gear 12, she goes to 49.36%. That is an 8.1% change. This, you notice it a lot. And you might be saying to yourself, well, Zary, it's only an 8% chance. But that 8% chance brings her pretty much brings her to every other hit she's critting now. You're gonna find a rune with some sort of crit chance on there. You can easily get her crit chance much higher. This changes up the runing options at gear 12, in my opinion. Some people might run crit chance, potency, right? Or even in that southern rune, you might run crit chance down there. This might give you the ability to run crit damage down there, or to run a crit damage potency set, or things like that. This one here, to me, actually makes a bigger difference. I mean, 8.1% jump is pretty nice. Then you pair her with other elves like a Sharp, or somebody who gives a crit chance up increase, and you're almost guaranteed to crit all the time. So this one here is, I really like this jump, and you really see the impact here. And when I go over the numbers for damage, on average, you'll notice it as well. Potency. Potency, this one was disappointing to me. At gear 11, she's 12. At gear 12, she's 17. She gets a 5% change in her potency. She's the reason you run her is for the ability block, the daze, all that stuff that she puts on, and a 5 change really doesn't make a huge difference. So you're still going to have to put potency on there. You're still looking for potency in that southwestern rune. So don't look for her potency like, oh, I can get rid of potency runes because I'm going to take her to gear 12. That doesn't happen with Thalanne. It happens with some characters, but not with Thalanne. So you got to keep that in mind. You're still going to be looking for potency in secondaries. You're still going to need that big time potency, and you're probably still going to have to use a potency set here. So I was hoping for maybe a 10 to 20 jump would have been a little bit nicer. But it is a positive change, but it isn't really what I was hoping for. Tenacity. Tenacity at gear 11, she's 33. Gear 12, she's 36. 3% change in her tenacity. So again, she is bumping up something, but you're not going to really notice a humongous difference. Now, some characters at gear 12 take a speed increase jump. She does not. She remains at her 160. So I didn't bother putting that in there. Now, if it does change, I obviously would say something, but it doesn't. She remains at her 160, which is fine because that's extremely fast for a base speed. So at gear 11, I runed her with the same rune sets. I went with a potency crit damage set because that's what they recommended, right? I prefer running her with a speed because I want her to go as fast as often, but I couldn't get a true taste of her damage. And with her crit chance being so high, I kind of agreed with the auto assign, and I went with that one. Now, with that being said, this is how I ruined her. I went with the damage up here, and I have health, shield, damage, and speed, right? I went for the armor, speed, shield, potency, and health. In this one, I went for a little 2-dot speed, because you might not have it. Here, I went for crit damage down here with the shield, speed, crit chance. Because she doesn't have that extra crit chance from the gear 12. Here, I went for health, crit chance, shield, and speed. And then up top here, we have a 3-dot potency. So with that, we brought up her physical damage by 190. So she's running at 3648. Her crit chance is at 44%. Crit damage is up to 204. Her health, survivability is pretty good. And speed, we got to 205. So very respectable for a new player. Now you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of videos start popping up, so you can kind of see what I'm sampling here. Now as far as the A1 goes, now the A1, her first ability, out of the hours of testing I did, I averaged between 11k and 30k on a crit. Now I only got 30k once out of all the hours of testing I was doing with the A1. But the average on the A1 was between 12 and 13k. Consistently. If I noticed I saw a lot of 12s, I saw a lot of 13s, some sprinkled in some 14s. So that's about what you're looking at. You know, obviously it can change depending on your rune set. But she crits quite often. So I kind of went for that crit on that. Now her A2. Her A2 is where she puts on, you know, the ability block, or I'm sorry, like debuff immunity, things like that. And I was averaging 20k to 27k out of the hours of testing I did. That was kind of the ranges, and the average right there is right around 24k with these runes. Now again, this is all subject to change, and people are probably going to tell me that they've hit for this and that and everything else. That's fine. But what I'm running, what you see here, is what I did. Now the A3. The A3 is when she puts on her ability block, multiple attack, AoE. I was averaging between 7 and 18k crits, varied ranges, but average was right around 11k. So she does great damage at gear 11, right? I mean, you really can't complain. So you're looking at an average of 12 to 13 on a basic when she crits. Her second ability, you're looking at an average of about 24k. And then an average on her AoE of 11k per hit. I mean, that's some really, really good damage. So I'm going to pop her up to gear 12. I'm going to put on those runes, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we are back here. And for this one, I went with damage, some speed, potency, crit chance. I went for speed here. I went for armor with speed, potency, crit chance, and damage. Now down here, I did go crit damage with speed, shield, and some more damage. And I kept this 3-dot rune on here because I really like the crit chance and speed. And then I went for potency here. Now, the gear 12 jump on her A1, I did between 14 and 36k on a crit. But the average was right around 15k. Between 14 and 16 was really where I was hitting all the time. That's a 3k jump on a basic. So it's not by any means the end all be all, but it's extremely nice there. On her A2, I went from, before I was doing about a 20 to a 27k. This time around I was doing between 20 and 30k, but I was averaging just about the same, 24 to 25k average. So her A2 to me really didn't change very much in the grand scheme of things. Her A3 though, her A3 I was, gear 11, I was doing about 7 to 18k that I saw. I was doing 9 to 20k. Her average at gear 11 was right around 11. Her average at gear 12 is right around 14. So I did see a big jump there. And obviously, any character is going to benefit from going to gear 11 to gear 12. As far as Thalanne, putting a potency set on her is a must. You can rune her for speed, you can rune her for damage, you can rune her for more critical chance, you can rune her for crit damage. The fact is that her basic ability and her A3 really take a bigger jump than I was expecting, and she does do a lot of damage. Now, don't expect her to go from 30k to 80k because you took her to gear 12. That doesn't happen at all. So keep that in mind and temper your expectations. So there it is, my YouTube family. There is the breakdown of Thalanne going from gear 11 to gear 12. Please let me know if this is what you wanted to see or you like this style of format. And as always, after this video, I'm going to post that next group of characters so I can do the same thing. So I appreciate your feedback and let me know what you thought of this series. I'll see y'all in the next one. I love you more than you ever know. I'm out.